We'll see.
Do you guys think that there will be another Ninja War?
Oh, definitely. I think so. I think the fifth Great Ninja War could be the Shinobi War. Look, I think the era of Shinobi versus Shinobi is kind of coming to an end. If it hasn't already. I mean, any war they go up, they enter into is going to be them versus something else. So I think it's going to be like the Shinobi world versus the Otsutsuki. I always say this on my streams. I think I can envision like some Avengers Endgame scene where like fucking dimensions are getting ripped open left and right, and fucking Otsutsuki are descending down from the heavens. The Shinobi world is on fucking red alert, and they all come together to fight them. I think that'd be pretty cool. Something else to mention though, how Kawaki, he can suppress his chakra, and only Boruto can sense him. And something cool I thought of was like, what if now that Boruto's unlocked this ability, he starts to randomly sense infiltrators, like Otsutsuki who are pretending to be human, who have already infiltrated Earth.
Oh, like how Naruto can sense Black Zetsu with Sage Mode? Sorry, I'm eating the cookie.
Hey man, that cookie sound good, bro. Anyway, yeah, exactly like that. Like, now that he's unlocked this ability to sense Otsutsuki, now all of a sudden he's starting to like, what the fuck? Like, why is this random dude walking down this alley, picking up like why I got my fucking spidey sense going, crazy right now? And then he follows him and he fucking fights this. Boruto fights this dude 1v1 in the fucking alley or some dope shit, and then he beats him. And it turns out like, hey, like I'm just like a vessel for the Otsutsuki. They're fucking coming. He gets some kind of warning or some shit like that. I think that'd be really dope, and that kind of sparks Boruto to go off and kind of train and become more powerful and tap more so into his Otsutsuki power. I don't know. I think it's fun though.
You know how there was like ninjas that was on Tail Beast level? Do you think that they should introduce some ninjas that's like this, or they already are at Otsutsuki level?
Yeah, definitely.
Real quick, I do want to touch on what Mello was talking about earlier, and I think this goes on to the overall point. I mean, in regards to them essentially saving things for plot reasons, and Mello could essentially potentially tie this onto the Genjutsu thing, even though I think it'll be too much on an even grander scale. But that's besides the point. I think a free game. By the way, we settled that discussion already. The Sarada versus Kawaki thing. But in regards to sensing people, Naruto should have been able to. Remember when we had the Kawaki versus Sarada debate?
Yes.
We settled that. We settled that.
But when did we settle it?
Well, I went on Mello's stream the other day. Had like a 3-hour discussion about it.
Oh, I did not hear it at all. I didn't know nothing about it.
Yeah, check out my I had a final thoughts video. I did like a 3-hour stream. It's only like an hour for the debate portion, but yeah, I give my final thoughts on it.
All right, I'll check it out.
Oh yeah. So when it comes to like sensing negative energy, Naruto should have been able to do that. Like Naruto, when he had karma, should have 100% been able to sense if Amado had some sort of ulterior motive, but they just didn't really do that. And not only that, Boruto should be able to sense that as well with his Jogan, because in the first arc, he was sensing a bunch of negative energy throughout the whole entire first 12 or 14 or 15 episodes.
Who are you talking about?
Boruto with his Jogan.
No, you said Naruto should be able to sense who?
Amado.
Amado. Okay, yeah, that's
to see if he has any sort of negative energy, or if y'all theories could possibly be true, if he's an Otsutsuki member undercover. They should be able to sense that. But just so happens that they aren't necessarily able to. Now, with Boruto's Jogan, this might be a little bit different, mainly because Tonei did actually say that it would go dormant, and of course, it would potentially be the Star of Hope. Now, we don't know exactly what the Star of Hope really means, but in the future, it could possibly mean that Boruto can possibly search out and actually find exactly who the undercover Otsutsuki members are, and that right there could potentially be what saves everybody from the Otsutsuki clan's potential invasion, if that's actually the case.
I like that. I like the idea of that.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like we have to have that war, definitely. They're going to have that in their back pocket. The Boruto series borrows so heavily from the Naruto series, so they'll definitely do that.
What kind of war are you talking about? You talking about ninjas versus Otsutsuki? What are we talking about here?
I was thinking more of ninjas versus ninjas.
Oh, no, I don't see that happening.
You don't see that
Yeah,
happening?
I don't think... Nah, Kawaki even said it post time skip. The Age of Shinobi is over. I don't really think that would be the case. Like, if people were banging shinobis, I don't think Kawaki would really be saying that.
Like what would be like the narrative reason? Like the meta revolves around the Otsutsuki. We're far past the point where like ninja on Earth need to be bickering amongst themselves. At this point, the main like problem is like fucking from space, and we need to all come together to handle that shit. Yeah, there might be like small little bickers, but like war level, nah, I don't see that happening ever again.
Well, Mello, again, yo, you need to watch Attack on Titan, period, point blank. But I'm going to use another example. I'm not going to give any spoilers. But they thought they had an overall grander enemy, but somehow because they're essentially arguing about how to handle that enemy, they essentially started conflict within themselves.
Right.
And I think this could potentially be the same. We even talked about this with Boruto and its Karma Seal. Essentially, the Kages were asking Naruto, like, yo, are you going to handle this? You know what I'm saying? It could be a certain situation where we talked about this, essentially the Shinobis versus the Hidden Leaf Village. Now, we think that Naruto and Sasuke, even without their hacks abilities right now, would still be able to demolish everybody, but it's still a possibility, and even more now because they did lose Karma plus the Rinnegan.
I don't think that'll ever happen, because even when we had like I just think it takes certain personality types for that to be the outcome. I mean, the Raikage from Shippuden was so volatile and so aggressive, and but the Raikage we got now, Dairy or whatever his fuck his name is, he's so fucking chill. He's always been chill. Gaara, yeah,
Dara.
Dari, my boy. But Gaara is like real fucking chill. Like, yeah, he spoke the truth, but like that was just out of respect. Like, hey, like this is what you need to do. And Naruto, he's very pragmatic. He heard him out, and I believe that he was going to kill his son. Now that's neither here nor there, but I do think we don't have the personalities for this to be the kind of situation we find ourselves in. Yes, there could be squabbles, but an all-out war, especially with like the looming threat of the Otsutsuki, the era of peace being officially done, and people wanting to conquer our planet, I think we're past that at this point.
No, I completely agree with you, but in regards to an eventual, like hypothetically, if something like that did arise, I think that would probably be the storyline.
Yeah, because humans are always gonna get into it. Like at the end of the day, they are humans, and humans always seem to have some type of conflict. No matter how long the peace lasts, the peace has to end at some point in time. And like they've been in the state of peace for how long now? I can't really say it off the top of my head, but they've been in the stage of peace for a while.
16
now.
years, about
it's been 16
decade, 19 years,
decade plus.
Yeah,
but that's one.
Yeah, go ahead.
But that's one of the themes in like Hollywood, right? Like humans are squabbling against each other, but then like the aliens come down, like some Independence Day shit. Now all of a sudden all the nations want to come together and form some conclave of nations, and now we're working together against a common enemy. That's always been like the theme of like media and like pop culture. So I don't see that happening. Look, there could be we would have to defeat the Otsutsuki threat first and foremost. And I personally think I don't think the Otsutsuki are like the big bads. I think there's people above them. But let's just say work with what we know. The Otsutsuki are the be all end all. We defeat them, we neutralize that threat, and then I could entertain them having like a war or some kind of conflict.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but we got people like Amado who's making cyborgs that are like stronger than Otsutsuki's, like Jigen and shit like that. So like what if like if I saw a war popping off, what if it was just like the nations against Amado?
What do you mean? Like, but that wouldn't be shinobi then. We're talking about something fundamentally different.
Yeah, it would be cyborgs versus shinobi.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, I just don't think the shinobi are going to fight each other.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit long gone. I think if we were to actually want for some shinobi conflict, we'd have to go to the rogue nations, like the nations that haven't necessarily been tapped in, or nations that aren't necessarily at peace. I think that right there would definitely be something amazing, because again, a character that no one really knew about, some rando named Nagato, automatically became one of the most elite ninjas out of thin air because he somehow came across a Rinnegan. We don't know how that happened. Something like that can possibly be brewing in one of those other nations.
Wait, no, we do know.
Yeah, Obito gave it to him.
Yeah.
No, we know, but in regards to like, for example, at that time, like Tsunade ain't know nothing about that. Like, let's keep it a G. The Kages ain't know nothing about no Nagato. He was essentially running the hit
from the perspective of the characters within the actual. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, like,
Yeah,
for example, Naruto right now probably doesn't know of a Nagato Part 2. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
No one, story-wise, they don't know.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, a character from one of those other villages could potentially be on a level of, like, a Nagato. Of course, not saying that he'd be any threat to, like, say, a Naruto or, like, a Sasuke. But, of course, that would be something for other nations and potentially even Hidden Leaf Jonin plus Boruto and the rest to handle. If of course if they can't handle it now, then of course Naruto and Sasuke, but they pop up. But stuff like that, I think that would definitely be intriguing.
Let me ask you a question that ties into both of your points. At the end of like the Chunin exams, we saw Amado get kidnapped, and for somehow, some way, I mean that conflict in and of itself was so piss poorly written, to be honest, but it raised some interesting questions. And Amado asked himself, who the hell told you about me? Like, how the fuck did you find out about me? So I think to the point, like, there are clearly factions out there. I mean, look, we could say maybe Shikamaru secretly set it up. I don't know. I don't see any evidence for that. But there's clearly factions out there who want weapons to wage war. And clearly, like, there's some kind of intelligence being spread around about Amado's prowess in providing said weapons with his technology. So I think that could play a role into a war, if we're talking about something like that. But I would say Amado, for them to get that kind of power, I think Amado is like 1 in a million. So that kind of stuff, I think we don't have enough, intelligent individuals like in Amado to provide enough power to a smaller nation to scale to the bigger ones. But that would be really interesting to me.
Yeah.
No, I see what you're saying. Go ahead, Rock.
No, go ahead. Rock.
Well, I was just gonna say I see what Melo's saying. I definitely agree. But here's the thing that we have to understand: Amado, of course, he's special, but in regards to creating things, he isn't really anything special, because he himself said all the things and the information that he did actually get came from other scientists. So it wouldn't necessarily be totally far-fetched to think that those other scientists could potentially have something along the lines of course, the cyborgs. And we already seen this back in episode 70 something, I think around 70, 74, 75 during the Mitsuki retrieval arc, when we did see the synthetic human beings. Those things were literally like stage 1 of what we did see in regards to like a Delta or something like that. Those were like just prototypes. Hypothetically, it wouldn't necessarily be out of the realm possibility if 2 years down the line, current times right now, they're a lot more advanced. Like, not saying that they're on Jigen's level. Let's say they're on like a Delta's level. Let's say they're on like a Gaara's level. It wouldn't necessarily be that far-fetched to think there's like an army of like 50 of them that's extremely elite in another nation or something like that.
I think at some point, just as time progresses, technology is going to get to that point. And if the Boruto series continues, or the franchise continues past Boruto, depending on how far in the future, I think technology will be the definitive meta. Now, of course, they will keep their foundation in like chakra and shinobi shit, I believe. But I think it's all but confirmed. It's very much so the point. Technology yields a superior result than traditional shinobi. Train hard for many years and develop and hone your skills. I think it's all but saying, yeah, no, technology is the best way to go if you're like an average fucking shinobi, and you from like you're starting off and you want to be like fucking Hashirama tier. I'm going the technology route. Fuck all that training for 10 years just to get maybe fucking Konohamaru level. So and to that point, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think as time progresses, technology will too, and we will definitely see. Because look, we thought it was. This is the reason why so many. What was that? Somebody say something?
No, my computer started playing some.
Oh my.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry.
No, you're fine. There's a reason why so many people are like butthurt at the depiction of Naruto and Sasuke and Boruto, and myself included, because we were under the mistaken impression that Six Paths mode and Rinnegan Sasuke were like god tier and they're super powerful. In actuality, and I think this is the case, they're not that powerful at all, and they never were. like even Ishiki Otsutsuki, we consider him like he's fucking amazing. He's a top tier. I don't even think he's that powerful, relatively speaking. Again, I think there are gods above the Otsutsuki, and similar to how Kurama was like the big bad threat that Naruto had to get over. Ooh, not really. He was never really a threat. Like maybe in the moment, every now and again, but he, in my opinion, he helped Naruto in terms of fights more so than he hindered him. And I think that's the same dynamic with a Momoshiki. Ooh, Momoshiki's gonna take over his body. Spooky. He's the main threat, the Otsutsuki. But I think when you look past like their motivations and actually look at why they do what they do, I think you'll come to a certain conclusion that there's someone running them. I mentioned this in my last stream. I have a video coming out about this. I'm not gonna go too much into it, but I asked myself, why is it that if the Otsutsuki are in charge, they are in control, why is it that it's a prerequisite, it's a requirement for them to kill themselves in order to cultivate the divine tree? Who the fuck would ever do something like that? Like, why is it that that Boruto and Kawaki and Code, the vessels, can even tap into the Otsutsuki's power and knowledge pool? What utility would that serve for the Otsutsuki? And then that ties into like Boro and his cult. And in the video that's coming out soon, I talk about how I believe in Otsutsuki culture, the vessels are typically willing participants in this process. And that's why Momoshiki is always so frustrated with Boruto when he tries to bring back his consciousness. Because typically to them, if my theory holds, the vessels like Code, they want to be sacrificed. And it would make sense why they would be able to even tap into a Momoshiki's power or an Ishiki's power in order to protect themselves long enough for that Otsutsuki to fully reincarnate. Otherwise, it doesn't make any utilitarian sense.
What
from
I
their
was
perspective.
always under the impression is that's the reason why the Karma Seal was brought into place. They would sacrifice themselves to the God Tree, but they would put their Karma Seal on a vessel so they can resurrect in the future.
Exactly, and that's the point. I think that's the main primary focus of the Karma Seal, a way to bypass death. Right. But if you are the one that created the 10 tails, why would you then have to create a mechanism in which you bypass the death of a thing that you made? Like why even make it so that you have to kill yourself in order to cultivate the divine tree?
Well, that's why that's why they travel in pairs, though. That was why that was brought up for. So one Otsutsuki can sacrifice the other Otsutsuki to the God Tree, and they can eat the tree. The fruit, and gain the power.
No, but what I'm saying is, why are they the fuel for the seedling 10 tails to begin with?
Well, I don't think that they're their only fuel, though. I think that they just produce better fruit.
So you think you can cultivate a divine tree without an Otsutsuki sacrifice?
They were able to do it in the Great Ninja War.
No, because remember, Kaguya came down to the planet with the tree already intact. Now, I have a theory. Okay. I have a theory that said, and yeah, that 10 tails from Shippuden is the same 10 tails from Hagoromo and Kaguya's era. I have a theory that says that half of Ishiki that Kaguya bisected, I think she sacrificed that half of his body to the 10 tails, cultivating the tree. She comes down to Earth, and then she eats the child. That's my theory, but I can't confirm that, of course. And that same 10 tails was turned into like the moon, and then of course that's how the Akatsuki got it, and so on and so forth. But the whole thing with that is, why, if you created the 10 tail seedling, why also make it so that you have to kill yourself in order to cultivate a divine tree, and then behind that say, okay, well, not only do we have to kill ourselves, but now I'm gonna create this mechanic in which we can come back to life, because we were too stupid not to make ourselves the fuel for the thing that cultivates the divine tree. It just doesn't make sense to me, is all.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
I ain't gonna lie.
In the series.
I ain't gonna lie. I ain't trying to think that deep into it, partner. I'm into the theories, but this is 10 hat territory, partner.